Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be ranking Eminem's albums and putting them in this nice tier list. I thought it'd be interesting to kind of showcase my thoughts and feelings on some of his projects from over the years, given that I am Gen Z. I'm 24 years old. I've listened to Eminem throughout my life. I definitely remember listening to Eminem even as a kid, but you never know how people kind of grow from different age groups. So this is my personal feelings about this list, so don't attack me too much. Feel free to leave your own personal list in the comments, though. We'll talk about it. So we'll get right into it. Starting with this first album, the Slim Shady LP. It's truly a great album. It's very nostalgic for many. It's where we got to see the Slim Shady alter ego for the first time. Eminem comes with these crazy, zany, wild stories, of course. There's a few songs that definitely didn't age well as of today. Maybe a little bit difficult to listen to in 2023. A lot of the rhyming and punchlines are actually rather simple, and the production just really isn't perfect. But it was, of course, a great start for the guy. In the number 5 spot of the B row. My favorite songs being Brain Damage, 97 Bonnie and Clyde, and Rock Bottom. Next we got the Marshall Mathers LP. Honestly, this album's nearly perfect. From the production and the abilities being amped up, the storytelling, just the stories in general that get told. Eminem really stepped it up here, and there's really not one song from the project that I have an issue with. Sometimes I feel like it's a little overrated, but nah, it's properly rated, maybe even underrated nowadays. Put this at number 3 in the A row, with my top 3 songs being Who Knew, Marshall Mathers, and I'm Back. The Eminem Show, once again, he amps it up even more. Skills are sharper than ever, gets much deeper into his own personal life, definitely in a more mature and relatable way. Much better production all around. I wouldn't say it really showcases any improvement on his storytelling abilities, but mostly because he doesn't actually go that route for this record, instead emphasizing his abilities lyrically, giving us some of the craziest lyrical performances from him to date. Also, this album is home to the best expanded version or anniversary edition of an album that he's given us yet. But song for song, I actually like it a little bit less than the Marshall Mathers LP. I have it at number 4 at the top of the B row. Top 3 songs being White America, Sing for the Moment, and Haley's Song. Eminem's next album was Encore. I really don't think this is a bad album, and I think it's home to many great songs that we've gotten from Eminem. And honestly, there's only a handful of songs that are rather unsavory. He really always comes with his best foot forward lyrically, but some of the concepts on the record are just, well, gross. Just making you unnecessarily uncomfortable at times. To be fair here though, many of the songs that were originally on the track list for this album were leaked at the time, making Eminem make several last minute tracks. And with the songs that we know that should have been on it, it probably would have been a much better album. Not to mention where we all know Eminem was at in his personal life at the time. So unfortunately, this record makes the bottom of the list for me. Top 3 songs, Like Toy Soldiers, Mockingbird, and Love You More. A whopping 5 years later, we got Relapse. The biggest complaint about this album is the accents and all the serial killer vibes, but honestly they work really well together, and Eminem emphasizing them make a pretty great project actually. Eminem definitely takes his storytelling abilities to a whole new level here as well, but some of the details he goes into are a little concerning. But he really is just lyrically on top of his game at this point. The production for this record surpassed every project prior. Relapse is so underrated. If you don't like Relapse, go re-listen. In the number 7 spot, the top of the C row. Top 3 songs, Stay Wide Awake, Deja Vu, and Careful What You Wish For. Recovery is a very important album to me, and I'm sure to many others. So many great songs came from this. A massive response for Eminem. Truly just a great comeback for Eminem following the battle with addiction. Easily his most self-reflecting album and most positive messages. Recovery will lift anybody up, seriously. I have not and will not ever get enough of this album, which is why it makes my number 1 spot. And if that triggers you, don't worry, it gets much worse. Top 3 songs, Talking to Myself, Going Through Changes, and No Love. Next is the Marshall Mathers LP 2. This project had plenty of ups. Eminem really shows what he's capable of when it comes to his lyrical abilities or even storytelling abilities. He really puts his personal emotions into this as well. We get serious Eminem, we get wicked Eminem, we get zany Eminem. He really puts everything that he's capable of together for this project. But track to track, it's just not produced very well at times. Some of the samples are cool and interesting, but they just kind of fell out of place sometimes. Just really not my favorite. Number 8 in the C row. Top 3 songs, Bad Guy, The Monster, and Beautiful Pain. And then we got Revival. First of all, this album gets far too much hate. It really does. Eminem gets extremely extremely personal and realistic about it on this project. He maintains a level of skill that's comparable at least to his previous work. I just don't think he was trying to showcase that as much. He just had things to say, he had stories to tell. If you hate this album, you should probably go listen to it with a different lens on as well. And although I stand up for this album, I really don't hold it in a very high spot in comparison to many of his other projects. It's actually for the same reason as the last record. I just feel like some of the production is not all the way there quality-wise. It's just not mixed very well sometimes. Some of the samples don't really fit. They just kind of get thrown in there. The production and the mixing is easily the worst of his entire catalog. And just song for song and as a whole, it's less enjoyable. So Revival makes it in the number 9 spot in the D row. But we still got plenty of great songs that came from this record. Top 3 songs: Walk on Water, Bad Husband, and Castle. Next is Kamikaze, the response record to Revival. Obviously a much better album. Eminem gets really aggressive as he is responding to all the haters on this, really putting himself in a modern setting with more trap-like beats, just reflecting on so much from what just happened after that, bringing his absolute best lyrically, just shitting on the entire game, really. And despite being put together in such little time, it actually doesn't even feel that way. And some of the songs that are unrelated to the bitterness of Revival are actually pretty good too. There's the apology song to D12, a couple of the love songs, but the album's kind of short and there's less to love. Number 6 in the B column. And finally, Music to Be Murdered By, Eminem's last album for now, in the number 2 spot in the A row. I really like this album. I have liked it since the moment it dropped. There's just so much to it, and it'll probably move to my number 1 spot eventually, to be honest. He really brings everything to the table here. The Alfred Hitchcock references and the samples and that whole concept is just amazing. The production is on point, the more modern beats and trap, everything. Eminem really puts everything together here and lays it out on a silver platter. Just completely stepping up the game across the board, from his lyrical abilities, his storytelling abilities, the flows, the beats, the hooks, the collabs. This notion that he'll never be as good as he was before is just bullshit. For somebody like Eminem, who constantly looks in the mirror and self-reflects and just constantly upgrades himself, some of his best work lives on this project. And for that, I'm going to do top 5 songs for this one. You Gon' Learn, Never Love Again, Favorite Bitch, Zeus, and Marsh. Thank you for watching. This has been my own personal tier list. People probably think I'm like trolling or lying, but no, this is how I really feel, and it took me a while to kind of piece this together. So thank you if you watched the whole thing, and don't forget to subscribe.